Ryan Thompson thought he had seen everything in 20 years of real estate investigation. Former banker turned property detective, he specialized in uncovering hidden wealth stories that defied logic. But nothing prepared him for what happened. When he walked into the downtown Metropolitan office complex at 2 in the morning, the security guard buzzed him in for what should have been a routine property assessment. Ryan was investigating unusual ownership patterns in the building's recent sale when he noticed something impossible. A janitor was having an intense phone conversation about multi-million-dollar property acquisitions. Harold Martinez, 62 years old, wearing a worn blue uniform and pushing a cleaning cart, was casually discussing the purchase of 3 commercial buildings worth over $2 million each. Ryan froze behind a pillar, listening in complete disbelief as this ordinary maintenance worker spoke with the confidence of a seasoned real estate mogul. The conversation that followed shattered every assumption Ryan had about wealth, success, and the people we encounter every day. Harold wasn't just any janitor. He was orchestrating property deals that would make most investors weep with envy, all while appearing to be nothing more than a humble night shift worker earning minimum wage. What Ryan discovered about Harold's impossible empire would challenge everything he thought he knew about building wealth in America. This wasn't some inheritance story or lottery winner tale. This was a systematic approach to real estate domination that had been hiding in plain sight for over 30 years. The U method Harold used violated every traditional rule of real estate investing. No credit checks, no massive down payments, no fancy education or connections, just pure strategy that turned a third-grade dropout into one of the most successful property investors in the entire city. Harold's wealth-building system was so extraordinary that it seemed impossible until Ryan verified every detail through multiple sources, bank records, and property databases. The man pushing a mop cart controlled more real estate than most licensed brokers would see in their entire careers. Ryan had investigated countless success stories throughout his career, from tech entrepreneurs to Wall Street executives, but Harold's journey represented something different. This was proof that extraordinary wealth could be built by anyone, anywhere, using strategies that required intelligence and persistence rather than privilege and connections. The implications of Harold's success story challenged fundamental assumptions about economic mobility in America. Here was a man who started with nothing, faced language barriers, lacked formal education, and worked in one of society's most undervalued professions, yet had systematically built wealth that exceeded most college-educated professionals. The truth about Harold's wealth-building system was so extraordinary that Ryan had to verify the story through multiple sources, bank records, and property databases before he could believe what he was witnessing. Fascinated? Keep watching, because the shocking truth about hidden wealth is about to blow your mind. 3 hours earlier, Ryan had received a peculiar assignment from his research company. The Metropolitan office complex had sold for $47 million to an undisclosed buyer, and several investors wanted to understand the ownership structure behind the mysterious purchase. Ryan specialized in these investigations. His background as a former investment banker gave him unique insights into complex property transactions, but this case felt different from the moment he started digging into the paperwork. The building had 23 floors, housed dozens of businesses, and generated massive rental income. Whoever bought it possessed serious financial backing, yet the ownership trail led to a series of shell companies with addresses that made no sense. Walking through the pristine marble lobby at 2 in the morning, Ryan expected to find typical night shift workers and security personnel. What he didn't expect was to witness Harold Martinez, a soft-spoken janitor with calloused hands and a gentle demeanor, casually negotiating the acquisition of additional commercial properties worth millions. Harold noticed Ryan standing near the elevators and approached with a friendly smile. He introduced himself as the head of building maintenance, a position he had held for over 3 decades. Nothing about Harold suggested wealth or sophistication. His uniform was clean but old, his speech pattern humble and unassuming. Ryan engaged Harold in casual conversation about the building, hoping to gather information about the recent ownership change. Harold spoke knowledgeably about the property's history, maintenance requirements, and operational challenges. His insights impressed Ryan, but nothing prepared him for what happened next. Harold's phone rang during their conversation. The caller was apparently his real estate attorney, and Harold stepped aside to take what he assumed was a private call. Ryan, positioned nearby, couldn't help but overhear fragments of a conversation that made absolutely no sense given Harold's apparent circumstances. Harold was discussing property inspections, due diligence timelines, and financing structures for multiple commercial acquisitions. He spoke with authority about market conditions, rental yields, and investment strategies that would challenge experienced real estate professionals. The conversation lasted 15 minutes, during which Harold demonstrated knowledge of complex real estate principles that contradicted everything about his appearance and supposed position. When he finished the call, Harold returned to Ryan with the same humble demeanor, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Ryan's investigative instincts activated immediately. Something about this situation defied logic, and he had learned throughout his career that impossible scenarios often revealed the most incredible stories. He decided to extend his conversation with Harold, hoping to uncover the truth behind what he had witnessed. Harold seemed genuinely pleased to have someone interested in hearing about the building's operations. He shared stories about working there for decades, watching businesses come and go, seeing the neighborhood transform from industrial to commercial. His knowledge was encyclopedic, covering everything from the building's structural systems to the financial performance of various tenant businesses. But Harold's insights went beyond typical maintenance worker observations. He understood cash flow patterns, lease negotiations, market timing, and property valuation principles that suggested extensive real estate education and experience. Ryan found himself increasingly curious about Harold's background. The man's humble appearance and gentle personality masked an obviously sophisticated understanding of real estate investment principles that took most professionals years to develop. What fascinated Ryan most was Harold's ability to maintain this dual existence. During the day, Harold was a successful real estate investor making multi-million-dollar decisions. At night, he returned to his janitorial duties with the same dedication and humility he had shown for 3 decades. This wasn't an act or a cover story. Harold genuinely valued both aspects of his life. The psychological profile of Harold defied every stereotype about wealth and success. Most wealthy individuals Ryan had encountered displayed their achievements through lifestyle upgrades, social circles, and public recognition. Harold had deliberately chosen the opposite path, finding strength and opportunity in remaining invisible and underestimated. The revelations that followed would prove that extraordinary wealth doesn't always announce itself with expensive clothes, luxury cars, or prestigious addresses. Stunned, subscribe this moment because his investigation into secret wealth will blow your mind to pieces. Ryan approached the situation with careful curiosity, engaging Harold in deeper conversation about real estate and investment strategies. What emerged over the next hour was a story so incredible that Ryan questioned whether he was experiencing some elaborate prank or misunderstanding. Harold Martinez had been building a real estate empire for 32 years, starting with absolutely nothing except a burning desire to escape poverty and create generational wealth. Born in rural Mexico, Harold immigrated to America at age 19 with less than $50 and speaking minimal English. His first job was cleaning office buildings at night, earning barely enough money to rent a tiny shared apartment. But Harold possessed something more valuable than money, an insatiable curiosity about how wealthy people operated and an incredible ability to observe patterns that others missed. Working night shifts in commercial buildings gave Harold unprecedented access to a world most people never see. He cleaned the offices of real estate developers, investment bankers, property managers, and successful entrepreneurs. While emptying trash cans and vacuuming floors, Harold absorbed conversations, read discarded documents, and studied the behaviors of people who generated massive wealth. Harold explained to Ryan that wealthy people threw away more valuable information in 1 week than most people encountered in their entire lives. Financial statements, property analysis reports, investment strategy documents, and confidential correspondence provided Harold with a graduate-level education in wealth building, all acquired while performing his janitorial duties. The breakthrough came during Harold's 7th year of cleaning offices, when he discovered a crumpled property analysis that detailed a foreclosure opportunity. The property was a small apartment building that banks wanted to liquidate quickly. Harold studied the documents, visited the property during his lunch break, and realized he could purchase the building using a strategy he had learned from overhearing countless investor conversations. Harold approached the situation using a technique that Robert Kiyosaki later popularized. He found a way to control the property without traditional financing. He negotiated directly with the distressed seller, offering to take over mortgage payments in exchange for immediate ownership transfer. The seller, facing foreclosure, agreed to Harold's proposal. That first property became Harold's foundation for everything that followed. He lived in one unit while renting the others, generating positive cash flow that he reinvested into additional properties. But Harold's approach differed from typical real estate investors because he maintained his janitorial job as perfect cover for his growing empire. Nobody suspected that the humble night janitor was systematically acquiring properties throughout the city. Harold used this anonymity to his advantage, negotiating better deals because sellers never perceived him as a threat or competitor. He appeared financially harmless, which allowed him to access opportunities that sophisticated investors couldn't touch. Harold's system evolved into a sophisticated operation, spanning multiple property types and investment strategies. He purchased distressed commercial buildings, renovated them during his daytime hours, and managed them through carefully selected partners who handled tenant relationships while Harold remained invisible. Harold's education through observation was more valuable than any business school program. He learned about market cycles by watching investors panic during downturns and capitalize during recoveries. He understood tenant psychology from cleaning their offices and observing their business operations. He developed renovation expertise by watching contractors work and asking thoughtful questions during his maintenance duties. The Metropolitan Office Complex represented Harold's most ambitious acquisition yet. He had been tracking the property for 3 years, waiting for the perfect opportunity to add it to his portfolio. The recent purchase was just one piece of an empire that now included over 40 properties, generating millions in annual rental income. Harold's acquisition strategy focused on properties that other investors overlooked or avoided. He specialized in buildings with deferred maintenance, problematic tenants, or complex ownership situations that scared away traditional buyers. Harold's maintenance background gave him unique advantages in assessing and correcting these problems cost-effectively. Ryan verified Harold's claims through public records, property databases, and discreet inquiries with local real estate professionals. Every detail checked out perfectly. Harold Martinez, the soft-spoken janitor with humble origins, had built a real estate empire worth over $10 million while maintaining his night shift job as the perfect disguise. Harold's investment philosophy centered on cash flow generation rather than property appreciation. He focused on buildings that produced immediate rental income while offering long-term improvement potential through strategic renovations and better management practices. The financing strategies Harold employed were creative but completely legal and ethical. He specialized in seller financing arrangements, lease options, and partnership deals that required minimal capital while providing maximum control over valuable properties. Harold's success stemmed from his ability to see opportunities that others missed and his willingness to tackle challenges that intimidated traditional investors. His maintenance background provided practical skills that reduced renovation costs and improved property operations significantly. The most incredible aspect of Harold's story was his commitment to helping other people discover similar opportunities. He had quietly mentored dozens of service workers, sharing his strategies and helping them build their own property portfolios using the same principles that transformed his life. Harold's mentorship approach reflected his deep understanding of how ordinary people could build extraordinary wealth. He never charged fees or demanded partnerships. Instead, he shared knowledge freely, believing that success multiplied when others achieved it. His protégés included hotel housekeepers, restaurant workers, security guards, and other service industry employees who had followed Harold's systematic approach to real estate investing. The psychological aspect of Harold's success fascinated Ryan. Harold had developed an almost supernatural ability to remain patient and disciplined while others panicked or made emotional decisions. He understood that real estate wealth required long-term thinking, systematic execution, and the emotional strength to persist through market cycles and temporary setbacks. Harold's tax strategies were as sophisticated as those employed by major real estate investment firms. He understood depreciation schedules, cost segregation studies, and 1031 exchanges that allowed him to defer taxes while continually upgrading his property portfolio. These advanced strategies, typically known only to experienced investors and their accountants, Harold had learned through careful observation and strategic questioning. The financing structures Harold created were masterpieces of creative deal-making. He specialized in owner-financed transactions where distressed sellers became his lending partners. These arrangements provided Harold with properties while giving sellers steady income streams and tax advantages they couldn't achieve through traditional sales. Harold's renovation philosophy centered on intelligent improvements that maximized rental income while minimizing capital investment. He focused on cosmetic upgrades, energy efficiency improvements, and functional enhancements that tenants valued most. His maintenance background allowed him to perform much of this work personally, dramatically reducing renovation costs. The property management systems Harold developed were equally impressive. He had created partnerships with professional management companies for larger properties while personally handling smaller investments. This hybrid approach allowed Harold to maintain control over his empire while leveraging other people's expertise and time. Harold's market timing had been consistently excellent throughout his 32-year investment career. He had purchased aggressively during the late 1980s recession, the dot-com crash, and the 2008 financial crisis. Each market downturn had provided Harold with opportunities to acquire distressed properties at significant discounts. The due diligence processes Harold employed rivaled those of institutional investors. He had developed systematic approaches to property inspection, market analysis, and financial evaluation that ensured every acquisition met his strict criteria for cash flow generation and long-term appreciation potential. Reality completely shattered. Demolish that like button and stay locked in because the most incredible part is still coming. The complete scope of Harold's empire defied every assumption about wealth building in America. Ryan spent the following week verifying property records, interviewing Harold's business associates, and documenting a success story that challenged conventional wisdom about real estate investing. Harold owned 43 properties spanning residential apartments, commercial office buildings, retail spaces, and industrial warehouses. His portfolio generated over $800,000 in annual rental income, with a combined property value exceeding $10 million. The most shocking aspect was that Harold had accomplished this transformation while earning a janitor's salary that never exceeded $35,000 per year. Harold's success stemmed from his systematic approach to identifying and acquiring distressed properties using creative financing strategies. He specialized in taking over mortgage payments from desperate sellers, negotiating lease option agreements, and forming partnerships with property owners who needed management expertise but lacked time or knowledge to maximize their investments. The two properties Harold acquired were never luxury developments or high-end commercial spaces. He focused on practical, cash-flowing buildings in working-class neighborhoods where his maintenance skills and humble background gave him significant advantages over traditional investors. Harold could assess property conditions expertly, perform renovations cost-effectively, and relate authentically to tenants from similar backgrounds. Harold's approach embodied principles that Robert Kiyosaki emphasized throughout his teachings: using other people's money, focusing on cash flow over appreciation, and building systems that generate passive income. But Harold had discovered these strategies through observation and necessity, years before reading any investment books or attending expensive seminars. The network Harold built over 30 years included contractors, property managers, legal professionals, and other service workers who had followed his mentorship into real estate investing. This community provided Harold with deal flow expertise and support that amplified his individual efforts into a sophisticated business operation. Ryan interviewed several of Harold's protégés, discovering that the janitor had quietly helped over 20 people build substantial property portfolios. Maria, a hotel housekeeper, had acquired 12 rental units using Harold's strategies. Carlos, a landscaper, owned 6 commercial properties. Each success story followed Harold's template of starting small, reinvesting profits, and maintaining their day jobs while building wealth systematically. Harold's commitment to his janitorial position wasn't just about maintaining cover for his real estate activities. He genuinely enjoyed the work, appreciated the steady income, and valued the relationships he had built with building tenants and management companies. The job also provided Harold with ongoing access to real estate opportunities, as building owners frequently discussed investment prospects during his presence. The most profound revelation was Harold's philosophy about wealth and success. He rejected flashy displays of affluence, expensive lifestyle upgrades, and status symbols that typically accompany financial achievement. Harold drove a modest pickup truck, lived in a comfortable but unremarkable home, and dressed like any other working-class individual. Harold explained to Ryan that invisibility was his greatest asset. Nobody expected a janitor to understand complex real estate strategies, negotiate sophisticated deals, or control millions of dollars in property assets. This underestimation allowed Harold to access opportunities, gather information, and build relationships that would be impossible if people knew his true financial position. The bank records and property documents Ryan examined proved that Harold's story was completely accurate. Financial statements showed consistent cash flow, property appreciation, and wealth accumulation spanning over 3 decades. Harold had achieved what most real estate investors only dream about: complete financial independence through systematic property acquisition. Harold's story represented more than individual success. It demonstrated that America's economic system still rewarded intelligence, persistence, and strategic thinking, regardless of someone's educational background, social connections, or starting financial position. The documentation Ryan assembled about Harold's empire read like a textbook case study in systematic wealth building. Bank statements showed consistent growth, property records demonstrated strategic acquisitions, and tenant relationships revealed exceptional management capabilities. Harold had achieved what business schools taught in theory, but rarely saw executed so perfectly in practice. Harold's approach to risk management was particularly sophisticated. He diversified across property types, geographic areas, and tenant categories. His portfolio included residential rentals, commercial office space, retail properties, and industrial warehouses. This diversification protected Harold from market downturns that might devastate investors focused on single property categories. The insurance strategies Harold employed protected his empire from potential lawsuits and catastrophic losses. He had structured his holdings through multiple limited liability companies, ensuring that problems with individual properties couldn't threaten his entire portfolio. These protective measures, typically recommended by expensive attorneys, Harold had implemented through careful research and planning. But the most eye-opening, reality-changing lesson that will transform how you see wealth forever is what I'm about to share. Harold's story proves that extraordinary wealth hides behind ordinary appearances every single day, and the biggest opportunities belong to people brave enough to look beyond surface assumptions about success and capability. Next week, Ryan's investigation leads him to Rosa Martinez, a diner waitress in downtown Phoenix who appears to struggle financially but secretly owns the entire commercial plaza where she works, plus 6 additional properties generating massive passive income through a system so simple that anyone can replicate it. This incredible journey of discovery wouldn't be possible without amazing viewers like you who appreciate these mind-blowing stories about hidden wealth and extraordinary people. If Harold's impossible transformation from immigrant janitor to multi-millionaire real estate mogul inspired you, please subscribe to this channel immediately and activate that notification bell so you never miss these incredible discoveries. Harold's story deserves to reach people who feel trapped by their circumstances and need proof that anyone can build tremendous wealth using creativity, persistence, and strategic thinking. Please hit that like button generously to help spread this message to everyone who needs inspiration about what's truly possible in America. Share this video with friends, family members, and co-workers who enjoy incredible true stories about ordinary people achieving extraordinary success. Your support helps Ryan continue investigating and sharing these amazing discoveries about hidden wealth that surrounds us everywhere. The comments section below this video is perfect for sharing your thoughts about Harold's incredible journey, your own experiences with underestimated people who surprised you, and questions about real estate strategies that could work in your situation. Ryan reads every comment and often responds with additional insights and encouragement. Building this channel requires tremendous time, effort, and resources, but stories like Harold's make everything worthwhile. Your subscription, likes, shares, and comments provide the motivation and support necessary to keep uncovering these incredible tales of hidden success and wealth building that prove anything is possible with determination and strategic thinking. Remember, $1 Million Real estate opportunities surround you every day. Open your eyes.